What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're doing things a little bit backwards. I actually filmed me sanding Dad's car and getting it prepped for buffing. Doing it a little bit backwards. I was busy yesterday, so I just did straight filming and on the buffing, or on the actual sanding part of this. And as y'all can tell, we got this thing slicked out. I mean, to the point where it almost looks like it's semi-buffed and not. But as soon as we start taking the buffer to this thing, it should buff out super easy. Yesterday, unfortunately, I ordered some buffing pads for the smaller buffer for these tighter areas right here in between the hood. They will not be here till 2 o'clock. It's unfortunate, but we're just gonna start with the big buffer and get the fenders buffed out. We'll probably get the sides of the hoods, the center, and we'll save the center portion right there for the little buffer. Everything else should buff out with the big buffer, and we are gonna be using the Milwaukee cordless buffer, which if y'all guys have not seen that thing, go check it out. You can get them for pretty cheap on eBay or Amazon. They're definitely worth it if that's something you're doing every day. And let's just get started. Alright guys, so before we get started buffing, I know a lot of people are going to ask me what sandpapers I used, because I did skip over that step quite a bit. We just did a time lapse on what I was doing pretty much with the wet sanding process. So anytime you're doing a large surface like this, I always like to start out with 1000. You can use 1000 in a DA sheet. I don't actually put this on like an orbital sander just because this thing's got so many curves to it. You want to try to stay off of your lines. So just stay to the flat surfaces when you're working with your 1000. And then after I'm done with my 1000, I go to 1500 regular. This 1500 regular is different than this 1500 foam. So you have 1500 foam and 1500 regular. And the reason that they're different is this is an actual sand paper. It's a paper with a sand built into it. This is some kind of composite foam that they've designed, and it's not, it feels rougher, but believe it or not, it's not. It's actually a softer compound. It helps get your sand scratches when you're stepping this thing down. So after the 1500, I run over it with a little bit of 2000, and I just do all this by hand, and that's the process. You can buy you one of these little sanding blocks. This one is a semi-hard, semi-soft block, and the reason I like to use this block is because it's not too soft to the point where your block is kind of like, you know, not getting the spots out that you want, because the purpose is to take all the orange peel out of the panel. And this block right here is still, I don't know if y'all can see that, but I'm pushing in on it. It's soft, but it still has a rigid face to it. And then after that, we start the buffing process. And I know a lot of people out there that use the 3M stuff, and I use the 3M stuff all the time. I actually have some here. Well, this is their machine polish. It's not their compound. I use the rest of the compound that I bought. But I'm gonna tell you right now, that's the blue stuff. I got Dad off camera here helping me. These are the two 3M after the compounds. These are gonna be your polishing and swirl remover. This is good, and this stuff is good, but their compound, I'm sorry, I don't know if their formula has failed or if they have a new compound out, but I've had a lot of issues out of 3M, and they're way, way, way too expensive. I mean, this bottle right here, if you were to buy this bottle, is $70. That's for non-commercial grade people. So, for this bottle, and literally we've had this bottle, what? It's been a long time. We've had it for a couple years now. So at work, I've this new company come in, and I still can't pronounce this company, but I just call it G360. But that's the company name right there. If y'all want to look it up, you can buy this on Amazon, or you can try to check your local parts stores for this. This stuff is amazing. It's some of the best compound I've ever used, and we used it on Dad's black Chevelle that he just sold. And it's really a one-step process. It's a compound and a polisher all in one. And we're gonna use it today on Dad's car, and y'all got kind of get to see how this stuff actually cuts. It cuts really good on cars. And then of course we have the Milwaukee battery-powered buffer. We bought this a couple years back, and for someone that does buffing a lot at work, it's been the best thing I've ever bought. So if you work in a body shop, or if you work in a detail shop, get you one of these buffers. It's definitely worth it. I'm kind of waiting for them to come out with an orbital buffer too, because I would love to add one of those to the collection also. But Milwaukee, if you're listening, get you an orbital buffer on your line, because not only do we use this buffer, but we do use orbital buffers. So we're going to be using this, and we're going to start out with the cutting pad, which is the compound pad. And then after the compound pad, we may not have to use it with this, but these are your two other pads. You have your blue and your black. Black goes for the black cap, blue goes for the blue. So just match them up. And it does matter. A lot of people say, oh, you can use any cap you want. No, you have to match your caps to your actual buffing pads. Of course, these are not 3M. They are Master Pros. They're just O'Reilly's versions. They're cheaper. 3M wants way too much for their products. I think they're overrated, but they work the same. So guys, stick around. We're gonna start buffing. Hang out. All right, guys, so when talking about buffing, a lot of people always ask the question, you know, how do you know when to stop buffing versus when to start buffing? And a lot of it falls down onto you just really have to watch yourself, because, hang on. But what I was saying is you have to really watch yourself, because you can burn through a panel with the buffer. I say, when you're first starting out, you really need to start on something small and kind of work your way out with your buffing, and always stay moving. You never want to stop with the buffer. It's the same thing as it applies to a DA or a block or anything like that. You want to stay moving constantly, and you're not really putting a lot of pressure on the panel. The buffer is kind of like what I was saying with the DA. It's not going to cut faster the harder you push on it. So usually I just let the buffer, freely move. I'm kind of like almost like Miyagi and Karate Kid. I'm just kind of letting it flow. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it. I'm just letting the weight of the actual buffer do its thing. And really, you just got to watch the panel and really also feeling it too, because this panel is going to get pretty hot as you're buffing it, and that's the whole purpose of buffing. You're actually doing what they call like remelting the clear back in, and that's what the compound is for, is to keep the clear wet and also buff in all the scratches. So we've got this thing finished out in 2000, so it should buff out really, really quick. I mean, you should notice within like the first pass of the compound that it's buffed out. And also, it don't take very much of this compound, so a dab will do you if it ain't clogged up. And these caps on these things are stupid. And also, once you get your pad soaked in with your compound, you can really, you can use this pad on other spots. Like once it soaks into the pad, you can pretty much do what you want and just add little bits where you need it. Also on RPM, I mean, people are different on their RPMs. I like to be in between 1600 and 2000, and the only reason is I've gotten so used to this thing, you can actually trigger this and it gets higher and higher and higher and higher. I'll never really almost never go full trigger on this thing, just because it can get away from you real quick. But as you can see from just that one little pass, I mean, it's really brought it out. And we still have some slight sand scratches here, and a lot of these will go away as we keep compounding and doing our thing with it. The biggest thing is there's no orange peel. We're gonna add a little bit more just because my pad is clean, so I'm trying to get the pad soaked with the compound. All right, guys. Pretty much this is what the end product looks after buffing it and wet sanding it. And I have to say it turned out amazing. I'm pretty sure Dad's happy with it. The only thing that you probably will see on the camera, and I don't know if y'all can tell, but there's a little darkness between the fender and the door. The big thing about that is these fluorescent lights. Well, these are actually LED lights, but same thing with fluorescent or LED lights. They tend to play minds on or play tricks on your mind with the way color shifts. And when you have a color that has a lot of metallics in it, you have to realize some metallics may stand up a different way and it may cause a difference in color. So if y'all are seeing that on the back of the camera, that is what you're seeing, is a little bit of this LED light coming down. I do have a filter on the camera, so it may filter it out and give you more of a natural look, what it's actually going to look like out in the sunlight. We always grade things on sunlight, so right now it's an overcast day. If you were to pull this out and look at it, it would probably, you wouldn't even be able to tell it unless you were like a trained eye. But on a sunny day, you'll probably never notice the difference. So hopefully Dad likes it. If not, we'll tear the door down. I'll blend into the door. It's whatever, you know. I told Dad I'd take care of him. But guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this little short video, and please come back for more. And any questions about it, please comment or hit us up on Instagram. Guys, we'll see you next time.